The old man's hands trembled as he stared at the mirror. His reflection wasn't alone anymore. Why did a 70-year-old devout Muslim man suddenly start seeing a beautiful woman in every reflection? A woman who claimed to be his wife for 7 decades. What did this jinn reveal about a promise made before he could even speak that made him weep for the first time in 50 years? This story is so shocking and mysterious it will give you chills. So please listen until the end, because there's a truth here that could change how you see spiritual contracts forever. Before we continue with this incredible story from Nigeria, please check if you're already subscribed to this channel and leave a comment telling me which country you're watching from. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who need to hear them. Now let me take you to Kano, northern Nigeria, where this inexplicable event unfolded. Malam Ibrahim Abdullahi was not just any old man in Kano. At 70 years old, he was a respected Islamic scholar, a man who had dedicated his entire life to the study of the Quran and the teaching of young students in his modest madrasa near the ancient Kurmi market. Every morning, long before the first call to prayer echoed across the city, Ibrahim would be awake, performing tahajjud in the small prayer room of his home in Sabongari. His neighbors could set their clocks by his routine: Fajr prayer at the mosque, breakfast of kosai and kunu, then the short walk to his madrasa, where 30 children waited to learn Arabic and Islamic studies. Ibrahim had never married. This fact had puzzled his community for decades. He was handsome in his youth, came from a respectable Hausa family, had education and means. Marriage proposals had come regularly when he was younger, from good families with beautiful daughters. But something always happened. Every single engagement fell apart at the last moment. The first bride-to-be suddenly married someone else 2 days before the wedding. The second developed a mysterious illness, and her family called off the arrangement. The third simply disappeared, running away from Kano entirely, leaving only a note that said, "I cannot marry him. She won't let me." After the 7th failed engagement, when Ibrahim was 35, he stopped trying. "It is Allah's will," he told his worried mother. "Perhaps I am meant to dedicate my life entirely to teaching and worship." His mother, Hajia Hawwa, had wept privately, but said nothing. She carried a secret that had tortured her for 35 years, a secret she had sworn never to reveal. But guilt consumed her daily, especially when she saw her only son grow old alone, without wife or children. When Hajia Hawwa died at the age of 93, Ibrahim mourned deeply. They had been close. She had been not just his mother, but his closest companion through his solitary life. Going through her belongings after the funeral, Ibrahim found something that made his blood run cold. Hidden in an old wooden box beneath her bed, wrapped in faded cloth, was a leather journal. His mother's handwriting filled the pages, but one entry from 70 years ago stood out, marked with dried flowers and tears that had wrinkled the paper. The entry was dated 3 days after Ibrahim's birth, and what it revealed would shatter everything Ibrahim thought he knew about his life. Ibrahim sat on his mother's prayer mat, the journal trembling in his hands, as he read words that seemed impossible. "May Allah forgive me. May my son forgive me. But what choice did I have? He was dying. My baby boy was dying, and the doctors could do nothing. For 3 days, he burned with fever. His tiny body convulsed. I could see death in his eyes." Ibrahim remembered stories from his childhood about how sick he had been as an infant. His mother always changed the subject quickly when relatives mentioned it. Now he understood why. The journal continued. "The old woman from the village came to me in secret. She said she knew how to save him. She said there were spirits at the ancient baobab tree near the Chalawa Gorge, powerful jinn who could heal what human medicine could not. But everything has a price." Ibrahim's hands shook harder. The Chalawa Gorge. Every child in Kano knew to avoid that place. Even now in 2025, people whispered about strange lights and voices heard near the massive baobab tree that had stood there for over 1,000 years. I went at midnight, just as she instructed. I carried my dying son wrapped in white cloth. The baobab tree was massive, its branches twisting like arms reaching for the sky. I placed my baby at its roots and recited the words the old woman taught me. Words I knew were dangerous. Words that felt wrong on my tongue. Then she appeared. Not from the shadows, she materialized like water taking form, beautiful beyond description, but her eyes were ancient and cold. She wore white robes that seemed to glow in the darkness, and when she moved, she made no sound. "You called and I answered," she said in perfect Hausa, though her voice echoed strangely. Your son is dying. You want him saved. I begged her. I wept at her feet. Please, I said. He is my only child. My husband is gone. I have nothing left if he dies. She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I will save him, she said. I will give him a long life, health, intelligence, and respect among his people. But in return, he belongs to me. I didn't understand. Belongs to you? I asked. He will be my husband, she said simply. From this night forward, he is promised to me. No human woman will ever have him. He will live his life unaware, but on his 70th year, when his life is full and complete, I will come to collect what is mine. He will cross over to my realm, and we will be together as husband and wife for eternity. Ibrahim dropped the journal. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. This couldn't be real. His mother wouldn't have done this. It was impossible. But the journal continued on the floor where it had fallen, pages open to his mother's final words on the matter. I agreed. May Allah forgive me. I agreed. She touched my son's forehead, and immediately his fever broke. His breathing steadied. By morning, he was completely healed, crying with healthy lungs, drinking milk hungrily. The doctors called it a miracle. But I know the truth. I sold my son's eternity for his temporal life. And she made me swear never to tell him, never to warn him, or the contract would take him immediately. So I have kept silent for 70 years, watching him grow, watching him try to marry and fail again and again, because she blocked every woman who came near him. If you are reading this, my son, then I am dead and your 70th birthday approaches. I am so sorry. I was weak. I was desperate. I chose your life over your soul, and I have paid for that choice every day with guilt that has consumed me. Please forgive me. Please find a way to break this contract. Please. The entry ended there, the pen trailing off as if his mother couldn't bear to write anymore. Ibrahim sat in the darkness of his mother's room, the journal in his lap, and felt his entire world collapse around him. Tomorrow was his 70th birthday. Ibrahim didn't sleep that night. He sat in his prayer room performing salah after salah, reciting Ayat al-Kursi over and over, seeking protection, seeking answers, seeking some way to escape what seemed inevitable. This is superstition, he told himself firmly. My mother was ill, perhaps confused in her old age. Jinn do not make contracts like this. This is not how Allah's creation works. But even as he said the words, doubt gnawed at him. His mother had been sharp until her final day, and the journal entry was from 70 years ago, not recent confusion. She had carried this secret his entire life. And then there were the failed marriages. 7 times. 7 times something inexplicable had prevented his union with a woman. 7 times he had been left alone. She won't let me, the third bride had written before fleeing Kano. Ibrahim's prayer beads clicked through his fingers faster and faster as dawn approached. He decided he would go to the mosque for Fajr as always, maintain his routine and ignore this madness. His mother had been mistaken, traumatized by his childhood illness, and had created a narrative to explain it. He performed wudu, dressed in his white jalabiyah, and stepped out into the pre-dawn darkness of Kano. The city was quiet, just the distant sound of a dog barking and the rustle of Harmattan wind through the neem trees lining his street. The mosque was a 10-minute walk. He had made this journey thousands of times over his 70 years. He knew every crack in the pavement, every landmark, every turn. But this morning, something was different. A woman stood at the corner near the old mango tree, clearly visible despite the darkness. She wore a white hijab and a flowing white abaya that seemed to catch light that wasn't there. Her face was partially covered, but what he could see was strikingly beautiful. High cheekbones, smooth dark skin, eyes that seemed to glow softly in the gloom. "Assalamu alaikum, Malam Ibrahim," she said softly. He stopped. How did she know his name? And what was a woman doing alone in the streets at this hour? "Wa alaikum assalam," he replied cautiously. "Sister, it is not safe for you to be out alone before Fajr. Can I help you find your way home?" She smiled, and something about that smile made his skin prickle with unease. "I am already home, husband. I have been waiting 70 years for this day." Ibrahim's breath caught. "What did you say?" "You read your mother's journal," she said, stepping closer. She moved with an unnatural grace, her feet seeming to barely touch the ground. "You know who I am. You know why I am here." "No," Ibrahim breathed, stepping backward. "You're not real. This is some trick, some confusion. I'm an old man, perhaps I'm having a medical episode." "You are perfectly healthy," she interrupted gently. "I made sure of that. I have kept you healthy and strong for 70 years. protected you from illness, from accidents, from death itself. Also, we could reach this moment. The call to Fajr began from the mosque, the beautiful voice of the muezzin echoing across the city. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. I must go to prayer, Ibrahim said firmly, trying to step around her. But she moved with impossible speed, blocking his path without seeming to move at all. You may pray, she said. I do not stop you from worship. I am not a shaitan, Ibrahim. I am a believing jinn created by Allah just as you were. I pray as you do, I fast as you do. I believe in the same prophet and the same Quran. The only difference is our nature. You are made of clay, and I am made of smokeless fire. Then you know that marriages require consent, Ibrahim said, finding his courage. You know that in Islam no one can be forced into marriage. I do not consent to this. I did not make this bargain. My mother had no right. Your mother had every right, the jinn woman interrupted, her voice taking on an edge. She was your guardian. You were an infant. She made a lawful exchange. Your life for your companionship. The contract is binding. You were healed by my intervention. You have lived 70 healthy years because of me. The debt must be paid. I owe you nothing. Ibrahim's voice rose, anger mixing with fear. I did not ask for this. But you benefited from it, she replied calmly. Every breath you have taken for 70 years was gifted by me. Every morning you woke healthy. Every illness you avoided. Every accident that should have killed you but didn't. All my doing. I have been your invisible wife for 70 years, Ibrahim. I have watched over you, protected you, loved you from the shadows. Now it is time for you to fulfill your part of the covenant. The call to prayer continued, and Ibrahim felt torn between his desperate need to reach the mosque, to be among other believers, and his fear of this creature who claimed ownership of his soul. I will fight this, he said firmly. I will seek help. I will find a way to break this contract. She smiled sadly. You can try, husband. But know this. The contract was sealed with blood and water, witnessed by the ancient baobab and confirmed by your 70 years of life. There is no scholar, no imam, no sheikh in all of Nigeria who can break what was bound on the night you should have died. Then she vanished, not walking away, not stepping into shadows, simply ceasing to exist where she had stood, like water evaporating in intense heat. Ibrahim stood alone on the empty street, the call to prayer echoing around him, and realized that his life as he knew it was over. At the mosque, Ibrahim tried to focus on prayer, but his mind raced. The other men noticed his distraction. After Fajr, his closest friend Al-Haji Musa pulled him aside. Brother Ibrahim, you look troubled. Are you ill? No, Ibrahim said quickly. Too quickly. I am well. Just my mother's death still weighs on me. It has been 2 weeks now, Al-Haji Musa said gently. Perhaps you need rest. You have been teaching every day without pause. Grief needs time. Ibrahim nodded absently and excused himself. He needed to understand what he was facing. He needed to research Islamic law regarding jinn contracts, needed to find someone who could help him. But as he walked home, he began to notice things he had never seen before. Everywhere he looked, she was there. Not physically present, but her image appeared in every reflective surface. In the window of a shop, her face looking out at him. In a puddle of water from the previous night's rain, her form shimmering beneath the surface. In the side mirror of a passing car, her eyes watching him. Each time he blinked, she was gone. But the message was clear. She was always watching, always present, always waiting. When he reached his home, he found his front door slightly ajar. He knew he had locked it before leaving for Fajr. Heart pounding, he pushed it open carefully. His house was untouched, but something was different. On his prayer mat, where he had sat reading his mother's journal the night before, there was a gift. A beautiful white turban, intricately embroidered with silver thread in patterns that seemed to shift and move when he looked at them. Beside it, a note in elegant Arabic calligraphy. For my husband, on his birthday, may you wear this with pride. Tonight, we will celebrate together. Safia. So she had a name. Safia, the pure one. The irony was not lost on him. Ibrahim didn't touch the turban. Instead, he immediately left his house and went to the home of Sheikh Aliyu, the most knowledgeable Islamic scholar in Kano, a man famous for his expertise in spiritual matters and his deep understanding of the unseen world. Sheikh Aliyu was 85, his beard completely white, his body frail, but his mind sharp as ever. He lived in a small house near the emir's palace, surrounded by books and manuscripts that lined every wall. Malam Ibrahim, The sheikh greeted him warmly. "What brings you here so early, my brother?" Ibrahim told him everything: the journal, the contract, the appearance of Safia, the 70 years of failed marriages. As he spoke, Sheikh Aliu's expression grew graver and graver. When Ibrahim finished, the old sheikh was silent for a long moment. Then he rose slowly and went to one of his bookshelves, pulling out an ancient manuscript bound in dark leather. "What you describe is called Ad al-Makhfi in our tradition," Sheikh Aliu said quietly. "The hidden covenant. It is rare, but it is real. Contracts made between humans and jinn, usually in moments of desperation. They are binding under Islamic law if certain conditions are met. But surely I can break it," Ibrahim said desperately. "I did not consent. I was an infant." "Your mother consented as your guardian," Sheikh Aliu said sadly. "That is legally valid in our jurisprudence. A parent has the right to make binding decisions for a child who cannot decide for themselves." "Then what can I do?" Ibrahim felt panic rising in his chest. "Am I damned? Will I spend eternity as the prisoner of a jinn?" Sheikh Aliu stroked his beard thoughtfully. "There is only one possible way to break such a covenant. The jinn herself must willingly release you from it. No force, no magic, no supplication can break a contract freely made and lawfully bound. Only the willing release of the one who holds the claim." "She will never do that," Ibrahim said hopelessly. "She has waited 70 years. She said she loves me." "Then you must make her understand that love without free will is not love at all," Sheikh Aliu said. "You must appeal not to her power, but to her faith." "You said she claims to be a believing jinn?" "Yes, she said she prays and fasts and believes in the Prophet, peace be upon him. Then she knows that Allah values free will above all things. She knows that forced companionship is forbidden. You must make her see that what she seeks is against the very faith she claims to follow." Ibrahim felt a small spark of hope. "How do I do that?" "You must face her directly," Sheikh Aliu said. "Tonight, when she comes for you, do not run. Do not fight with anger or fear. Speak to her with reason, with the Quran, with appeals to her better nature, as a believing creature. It is your only chance." Ibrahim spent the day in fevered research. He went to the Bayero University Library, searching through Islamic jurisprudence texts on jinn, on spiritual contracts, on marriage law. He spoke to 3 more scholars, each confirming what Sheikh Aliu had said. The contract was binding, and only Safia's willing release could free him. But he also discovered something else, something that gave him a strategy. In a hadith collection he found at the library, he read about the rights of a Muslim woman in marriage. She must consent freely. She must be treated with respect and kindness. She must never be coerced or imprisoned. And most importantly, a marriage made without the genuine consent of both parties is invalid in the eyes of Allah, even if technically legal. Ibrahim began to form a plan. If Safia truly believed in Islam, if she truly followed the teachings of the Prophet, then she would have to acknowledge that a marriage without his consent, even if technically legal, was spiritually invalid. As the sun set and Maghrib prayer time approached, Ibrahim returned home. He performed wudu carefully, prayed Maghrib with focused intensity, and then sat on his prayer mat to wait. He didn't have to wait long. As the last light faded from the sky and darkness covered Kano, the temperature in his small house suddenly dropped. His breath became visible in the air, and Safia appeared, materializing in the center of his sitting room like morning mist taking form. She was even more beautiful than she had been that morning. Her white garments seemed to glow with their own light. Her dark eyes looked at him with a mixture of longing, triumph, and something else. "Uncertainty." "Ibrahim," she said softly. "It is time." "Sit," Ibrahim said, surprising himself with the firmness in his voice. "Before we discuss anything, sit and talk with me as one believer to another." Safia tilted her head, studying him. Then, slowly, gracefully, she sat cross-legged on the floor across from him. "Very well, what do you wish to discuss?" "Tell me your story," Ibrahim said. "How did you become what you are? Why did you agree to this contract? Help me understand." Safia was quiet for a moment, and something in her expression softened. "You truly want to know?" "Yes." And so she began to tell him the story that would change everything. "I was not always alone," Safia began, her voice taking on a distant quality. 300 years ago, I lived with my family near what you call the Chalawar Gorge. We were a community of jinn, believing and peaceful, living in harmony with the humans who respected our territory." She paused, her eyes reflecting memories of centuries past. I was young then, only 50 years old. In Djinn terms, barely an adult. I was engaged to be married to a Djinn named Khalil. We were deeply in love. Our wedding was planned to coincide with the full moon. What happened? Ibrahim asked quietly. Humans happened, Safia said, and for the first time, Ibrahim heard pain in her voice. A group of men came to the gorge, treasure hunters who had heard legends of gold hidden in the caves. They brought a sorcerer with them, a man who practiced black magic, who knew how to trap and bind Djinn. She continued, They captured my entire family. My father, my mother, my siblings. They bound them with dark spells and forced them to reveal where we kept our treasures. When my family refused, the sorcerer began killing them one by one, using iron chains blessed with curses that could destroy even Djinn. Ibrahim felt a chill run through him. This was not the story he had expected. Khalil tried to save them. Safia's voice cracked slightly. He fought the sorcerer, but the magic was too strong. I watched as my beloved was dissolved into smoke and scattered to the winds, his essence destroyed forever. Djinn can be killed, Ibrahim. We are not immortal in that sense. We can be unmade. I escaped because I was the youngest, the weakest. They didn't think I was important. I hid in the waters of the gorge deep in the cold darkness, and I heard my family's screams as they were destroyed one by one. Tears, actual tears, ran down Safia's face now. Ibrahim was stunned. He had never imagined Djinn could cry. When it was over, she continued, I was the last of my family left. Alone, completely alone. For 200 years I lived in that gorge, speaking to no one, trusting no one. I became bitter, angry. I hated humans for what they had taken from me. Then why did you help my mother? Ibrahim asked. Why save me? Safia looked directly at him. Because I saw myself in her. A mother desperate to save her child, willing to do anything, sacrifice anything. It reminded me of my own mother, who died trying to protect me. And I realized I had a choice. I could remain alone forever, consumed by hatred and grief, or I could try to build something new, a different kind of family, a different kind of life. She reached out as if to touch Ibrahim's hand, but stopped short. I saved you because I wanted to save something, because I wanted to believe that not all humans were evil. And yes, because I thought that perhaps in 70 years, after you had lived a full life, you might choose to be with me. Not because you had to, but because you would understand loneliness as I do. Ibrahim sat back, his mind reeling. This was not the predatory spirit he had imagined. This was a broken creature, traumatized and alone, who had made a terrible decision out of pain and hope. But Safia, he said gently, you blocked every woman who tried to marry me. You kept me alone for 70 years, just as you have been alone. How is that love? How is that mercy? Safia's face crumpled. I know, she whispered. I know it was wrong, I know it was selfish, but I was so afraid. Afraid that if you loved a human woman, you would never even consider me. Afraid that I would be alone forever. Fear made me cruel, Ibrahim. Fear turned my mercy into imprisonment. The room was silent except for Safia's quiet weeping. Ibrahim sat across from her, feeling a confusion of emotions he had never experienced before. Anger at what had been stolen from him. Pity for this ancient creature's suffering, and strangely understanding. Safia, he said finally, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer truthfully as a believer. Can you do that? She wiped her tears and nodded. Yes. If Allah appeared to you right now and asked if this marriage, this contract, was made with love and justice, what would you say? Safia was silent for a long moment. Her hands trembled in her lap. I would say, she finally whispered, that it was made with desperation and loneliness, that it was made with hope but also with selfishness, that I convinced myself it was love, but true love requires the freedom to choose or refuse, and I took that freedom from you before you could even speak your first word. Then you know what you must do, Ibrahim said softly. No, Safia's voice rose with sudden panic. Ibrahim, please, let me explain. Let me show you what our life together could be. I can give you things no human woman ever could. I can extend your life for centuries. I can show you the hidden world, the beauty of the Djinn realm. We can travel anywhere, see anything. You would never be sick, never grow older. You would be happy. I promise you would be happy. Would I be free? Ibrahim asked simply. Safia opened her mouth, then closed it. Opened it again. No words came. Would I be free to leave if I wanted? Ibrahim pressed. Would I be free to say no? Would I be able to return to the human world if I chose? Or would I be a prisoner in a golden cage, surrounded by wonders but stripped of the one thing Allah values most, my free will? I don't know, Safia admitted, her voice breaking. I have been alone for so long that I don't know the difference anymore between companionship and captivity. I have convinced myself they are the same thing. Ibrahim felt something shift in his heart. Safia, I want to tell you a story, may I? She nodded, confusion in her ancient eyes. In the Quran, Allah tells us about Adam and Hawa, about how they were created for each other. But here is what is important. Even though they were made for each other, even though their union was literally ordained by Allah Himself, Hawa still had to consent. Adam still had to choose, because Allah values free will so much that even in paradise, even in perfection, choice must exist. Ibrahim continued, You have suffered terribly, Safia. What happened to your family was evil and unjust. But suffering does not give us the right to take away others' freedom. If you truly follow Islam, if you truly believe in the same Allah I worship, then you must know that what you are asking of me, demanding of me, is against everything our faith teaches. Then what do I do? Safia cried out. Do I just let you go and spend another 300 years alone? Do I just accept that I will never have family, never have love, never have companionship? How is that just? How is that fair? It isn't fair, Ibrahim admitted. Life isn't fair, but justice and fairness are not the same thing. Justice means doing what is right, even when it costs us everything, even when it means being alone, even when it means suffering. Safia buried her face in her hands, her whole body shaking with sobs. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then slowly Safia raised her head. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was a new clarity in them, a sad, terrible clarity. You are right, she whispered. You are right, and I have known it for 70 years, but refused to admit it. I have become the very thing I hated. I have imprisoned you just as that sorcerer imprisoned my family. I have stolen your freedom just as those men stole my life. She stood slowly, her form seeming less solid now, as if the admission had weakened her very essence. I release you, Ibrahim Abdullahi. I release you from the contract made by your mother. I nullify the covenant sealed at the baobab tree. You owe me nothing. You are free. As Safia spoke the words of release, Ibrahim felt something break inside him, not his heart, but chains he hadn't known he was wearing. Invisible bonds that had wrapped around his soul for 70 years suddenly dissolved, and he gasped as if breathing freely for the first time. But instead of relief, he felt something else. Sadness. Deep, profound sadness. Wait, he said as Safia began to fade. Wait, Safia, don't go yet. She solidified again, confusion written across her beautiful features. Why? You are free now. The contract is broken. You can live your remaining years as you wish. Marry if you want. Have the family I denied you. Why would you want me to stay? Ibrahim stood slowly, his old bones creaking. Because I have a question, and because I think you deserve an answer you've been seeking for 300 years. Safia waited, wary but curious. You asked how you can live with the loneliness, with another 300 years of being alone. The answer is, you don't have to. What do you mean? Ibrahim took a deep breath. I am 70 years old, Safia. I have lived my entire life dedicated to teaching, to prayer, to service. I have been alone, yes, but not unhappily. I made peace with solitude long ago. I have perhaps 10 or 15 good years left in this life. I don't understand what you're suggesting, Safia said slowly. I am suggesting, Ibrahim said carefully, that we make a new covenant. Not the old contract made by my desperate mother and your desperate loneliness, but a new agreement made freely by two adults who understand what they are choosing. Safia's eyes widened. You would still consider being with me, even after everything I've done? Not the way you wanted, Ibrahim clarified quickly. I will not leave the human world to live in your realm. I will not abandon my students or my community or my life's work. But perhaps we could find a compromise. He continued, Stay with me for my remaining years, not as my captor but as my companion. Help me teach. Be present in my life not as a secret, but as a friend. Show me the Djinn world, not as my prison, but as a wonder I could visit and then return from. And when my natural death comes, when Allah calls me home in 10 or 15 years, help me die well, with my prayers complete and my soul at peace. But then I would only have you for a few years, Safia protested weakly. Not an eternity, not centuries. No, Ibrahim agreed, but you would have me freely. You would have genuine companionship, not forced servitude. And perhaps in those few years, you could learn to be part of a community again, I could introduce you to other Djinn who are believers, help you find others of your kind who follow Islam. You don't have to be alone forever, Safia, but you also cannot imprison people to escape loneliness." Safia stared at him, tears flowing again. "Why would you do this? Why would you show mercy to someone who showed you none?" "Because," Ibrahim said simply, "that is what my faith teaches me. The Quran says Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the most compassionate. How can I claim to follow a merciful God if I show no mercy myself? You made a terrible mistake, Safia, but you also suffered terribly, and you had the courage to release me when I appealed to your faith. That deserves recognition." He extended his hand to her. "So what do you say? Will you stay with me as a free companion for the time I have left? No contracts, no bindings, no coercion, just two believers trying to do right in a complicated world?" Safia looked at his extended hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, with trembling fingers, she reached out and took it. Her hand was cool, but solid, real. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Ibrahim, I accept. And thank you. Thank you for showing me what it means to truly follow Allah's way. I have been lost for so long, consumed by pain and selfishness. Perhaps in the time we have together, you can help me find my way back to the path." The weeks that followed were strange, beautiful, and occasionally difficult. Ibrahim kept his word, and so did Safia. She appeared in his life not as a hidden secret, but as an acknowledged companion, though explaining her to his community required careful navigation. "This is Sister Safia," Ibrahim told his students and colleagues. "She is a scholar of ancient Arabic texts and has agreed to help with my research." It wasn't entirely a lie. Safia was indeed ancient, and she knew classical Arabic better than anyone Ibrahim had ever met. She began assisting at the madrasa, teaching the advanced students about linguistic nuances in the Quran that even Ibrahim hadn't known. The children loved her, though they sometimes mentioned strange things. "Why does Sister